just go over your thoughts on the team now? You're, I don't know how many practices in, 3 practices in?
Well, that's we got a long ways to go. I'm pleased with the effort of the 105 young guys that we have out there for the most part. And we're a work in progress. I think the retention level, I think, has been very good, meaning that whatever it is, and we put in an awful lot. We don't put it all in one day, but we implement our entire offense, defense, and all of our special team stuff, which is quite a bit, throughout the first 4-5 days. And so there's an awful lot that goes in, and they've done a nice job of retaining all of that. So the execution on the field, from an assignment standpoint, has been good. From a fundamental standpoint, has been good, not great, but good. And so we're making headway. I think we had some lapses. I think yesterday in practice number 2 that had to do with something other than execution and effort. But I think we got those corrected today. I think the vast majority of our guys have kept themselves well conditioned. The demands are pretty extensive, and they've responded to it, I think, quite well. And most of the work, I say all of it, most of the work we do is ones against ones and so on down the road. So it's hard for me to be happy all the time because one side's going to do better than the other side. So it tears me apart. But and everybody's had their part in it. I think yesterday our defense probably had a better practice than our offense did when they went together, went against each other. Today, today I thought our offense came back and responded well and had a positive workout. So, and it'll go back and forth like that, I think, during the course of the 2-a-day practices.
You had some junior college players that you were waiting on. What's the status of? I think there's 4 guys.
We have 4 young guys that still are not here yet. All 4 of them, it's my understanding, should be here, should qualify and be here. They're finishing up academic issues, and it's my understanding that all 4 of them have or will make it. Remains to be seen. They're not on campus yet. The expectation is that they will be here this week.
Bill, you've got maybe 3 or 4 guys that are former walk-ons that are starters. And they're also in leadership roles as captains. Does it take a special type of character / player to come on as a walk-on, earn a starting role, and then become a leader of the team?
Well, I think it takes a young person who has the value system that we're interested in to be able to do that. And you're right. I try not to distinguish between, where you came from and what your scholarship status is, et cetera. But what you say is true, and they've done quite well from a performance standpoint. They've done quite well from a leadership standpoint as well. And it's just because they have a quality value system in place. And that's a good thing. So more of those kind of guys we have, the better, whether they're scholarship guys or not.
Bill, Colin Klein is back here. Colin's back with the program. What are his responsibilities going to be, and why is it so important for you to bring former players back? You had a lot of them back as coaches and graduate coaches over the years.
Yeah, I think I read someplace, I didn't know this, that we have on our coaching staff having ex-players in our program as coaches. We have more in our program than anybody else in the country has of their exes. I think it's important because I know them, and I know what kind of value system they have. They know me, they know the program, they know what the tremendous demands are of the program, and they've experienced it. And so consequently, you know, for them to accept the opportunity to come back tells me that they're on board with all of that, and they truly are. And it's, you know, I enjoy having you know, the coaches here that have been through the program as players, and I think we have 5. You know, Sean played here, and Blake played here, and Mo played here. Dana played here, and we've got one more. I'm not sure which one, but you know, I'm pleased and proud to have, you know, have those guys with us. And then you take, you know, all our GAs and undergraduate assistants like Colin. It's great having them, you know, back. If indeed they want to get invested in the coaching profession. I've tried to encourage each one of them not to. In this day and age, I'm not sure it's the best direction for a 22-year-old, but by the same token, I mean, they're passionate about it, and if I can help them, I want to be able to help them. And they're good people. They lend themselves to our program.
Bill, you've had this. There's a lot of this is self-evident, but I wonder if you can describe this. You've had some amount of success with second-year quarterback in your system, and I just wonder if there's more than meets the eye to that in terms of why that's been the case.
It's a second year, you mean a guy
Second-year starter,
starting
I should say, yeah.
for his second year? I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are in that respect. But, you know, it's just, to me, I think it's probably common sense that it's easy to say you should be better the second time around than the first time around, but I don't believe that. You know, I believe you've got to make your way the second time. The opportunity to be improved from one year to the next is certainly there, but you have to do the things that allow you to become better at that position. And I think, you know, most of the guys we have do that. I mean, they're invested, I believe. I mean, you can ask them, but, you know, I believe they're invested in that concept of daily improvement. And if indeed they are, then whether you were a starter or not last year, you probably should be better this year than you were last year.
Bill, the passing game looks like it could be a potential strength for the offense based on returnees. Could this be a team that perhaps throws the ball a little bit more, or will you need to throw maybe to help set up the run game to kind of get those guys going?
Well, you know, that's not, you know, the philosophy we labor under. Doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. But, you know, really, my interest is in becoming as balanced as we possibly can. That's always been the situation. Now, there have been times when we've tried to be balanced, and yet, you know, one side, you know, either the run game or the pass game kind of outshines, so to speak, the other side of it. But the intent is always to try to create that balance, and we'll try to do the same thing. And then, you know, will the passing game oversee the running game? I hope that's not the case. Doesn't mean it won't, but I hope that's not the case. I hope we can maintain the balance that I'm talking about, spread the ball around, and the passing game and the running game as well. You know, have some balance by situational offense, down and distance, field position. You know, not get caught off where, you know, if it's 3rd down and 11, you're going to throw the football 100% of the time, et cetera, et cetera. So the more balance that we can create, the more unpredictable we come, and that there's a little bit of an advantage in becoming unpredictable, I think. So.
Coach, you haven't typically started a lot of true freshmen in the past, and nobody really does. But for you, you've got Alvin Warmack, who was heavily decorated through his high school career and a need at running back. What do you think of him so far, and how realistic is it that he'll actually have an opportunity to produce for you guys at running back?
Well, the opportunity exists. I mean, every young guy in our program, my approach with him is the same as it is with every incoming freshman player, and that is, don't make a decision. I won't make a decision that you're going to redshirt your freshman year until, we get close to the beginning of the season, in other words, a week away or so. And you go out and compete with the idea that, hey, I want to compete to be a number one. And if you become a number one and we get a week from game time, if you're wanting to lay it all out there and you're wanting to play, then that's fine, we'll do it. And if you're number two, you've got to make that decision. Do I want a red shirt or not? That's their decision to make, because that's a major, major decision in their life. I'll counsel with them in regards to whether I think it's the best idea or not. More often than not, I would ask the question. You can all relate to that. Are you going to be better in your first year here? Are you going to be better in your fifth year? And I think that, the answer is pretty obvious. But more often than not, my preference would be to redshirt, virtually all of our freshmen. The youngster that you mentioned, I think he's doing well right now. Will he be in? He'll have as I indicated, he'll have the opportunity to compete, make his way, and we'll address, whether that becomes redshirt or not in 2 or 3 weeks.
Coach Wendell asked about the walk-on captains, and the stories of Ryan and BJ have been pretty well told. Jonathan Truman has played next to some very experienced middle linebackers. This year, he's going to be, pretty much the leader of the linebacker core with some new guys. Can you talk about his journey from walk-on to this point, and what does he mean to that linebacking group?
Well, Jonathan, again, it goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. It's the quality of character, the value system that Jonathan possesses that is so valuable. He's a bright young guy. He's a young guy. His journey has been one of hard work and doing things right, and that's Jonathan. And people that have those values, as I keep coming back to, they're going to succeed. Somehow, some way, they'll succeed. And he's done it, and he's just done it the way, I guess, somebody in a meeting, one of the coaches was talking about, that's the way we do it here, a player or a coach that had played here. And he just represents that, so well, as many young guys do. He just happened to be a walk-on, which, as I indicated, at the end of the day, I don't go anyplace thinking about who's a walk-on, who's a scholarship player. They're all Kansas State University football student athletes, and the rest of it's immaterial to me. I know it's important to them whether they have a scholarship or not. I understand that, but he earned it, and that's we scholarship so many walk-on youngsters in our program, but every one of them earns it. It's not, they understand there's no gifts. You have to earn it, and they earn it. And they earn it with hard work and effort. Does he have some ability? Sure he does. All of them do. You can't survive without it. But it's the other things that allow that ability to become more extensive and better, and et cetera, down the road. And his leadership, he's a good leader first and foremost because he sets the example. There isn't a player in our program that wouldn't look at Jonathan. True for a lot of other guys, but they look at Jonathan and they say, hey, he works hard, does everything right, does it the way you ask him to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So, same song, second verse. You've heard it all, but good young guy. Good young guy.
Is that one of the reasons that walk-ons can be successful here, is because they know that, it is pretty much an even playing field, that, hey, if I come and work and I show ability, it's not because some guy got recruited.
That's right.
It was a 5-star, and that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, all I've got to do is come out and prove myself.
That's exactly right. And I honestly believe that they believe that to be true. And it is true. And like I said, when those of you that have been around, remember when we first came here, we had 47 guys on scholarship when you could have 95. And I told, the coaches that were with me at that time, I said, I don't want to know who's on scholarship and who's not on scholarship. Don't tell me, don't put it on a board, don't put it on anything, I want to treat them all exactly the same. And it's kind of the way it's been ever since.
A lot of schools these days want to hire the flashy young coach, and to be honest, the AARP crowd lately has been showing them up. Kansas State was in a BCS bowl game. George O'Leary last year. Mark D'Antonio. You can go right down the line. Is experience underrated sometimes in coaching? And is there any other reason for guys that have been around as long as some of you guys that are having so much success?
Yeah, I don't know. Yet do I believe experience is important? It is. Is it always the best thing? Maybe. If you experience doing the right things, it's an extremely positive thing. If your experience is in doing the wrong things, then obviously it's probably not the best thing in the world. I think Mark does a great job because Mark's a great coach. There's a lot of guys out there. I mean, young and older that are great coaches. And this is a day and age when that's probably not as easy to do as one might think.
Coach Danny Welniak, Channel 12 from Wichita. One of your biggest question marks coming into the season is your running back position, and it's not something that you really have to deal with usually. But do you feel like Robinson has a pretty good grasp on this, or is it kind of out there between all four of your running backs right now?
Well, I think we'll have 3 or 4 young guys that are presently invested in the competition. It will remain competitive. DeMarcus is the most experienced back that we've had, and he's been very patient up to this point in time. He understands our offense. He can execute our offense. Fundamentally, he's very sound. He's got a skill level that's appropriate. Couple of, as I said, a couple other guys, maybe 3 other guys, who are going to make it competitive, I'm sure. So DeMarcus is going to have to, continue to perform as well as he can, and I'm pretty confident that he will. I've not known him to approach it any differently than that. How quickly will we decide on who that's going to be? I can't answer the question because I don't know. It's not apparent to us right now. In time, it will be. I mean, there comes a time where, you have to make that decision. I don't know if it'll be easier then or more difficult. We'll find out. So, but I'm not unhappy with the direction any of them have gone in 3 short practices. Not short practices, but 3 practices.
Hey, Bill, Curry Sexton doesn't really strike an imposing presence, but what do you like about him, and what maybe do you expect out of him as he goes into senior year?
Well, Curry is one of those guys that we've been talking about. We have so many of them. He's a competitive young guy. He's a young guy that has developed a very, from an early age, a very special value system. He believes in all the things that we believe in. He presents them on the field and off the field as well. He's established himself as a meaningful leader in our program. He's a guy you always know is going to be in the right spot at the right time. He knows how to get where he needs to go. And he's athletic as well. He's got he has that kind of that football sense about him, which when I say he knows where to go and how to get there. He's just Curry would be and I'm sure has been a great sandlot football player. Just because it's there's not a lot of schematics go on in there, but he understands where to be and where not to be. He's just a good young guy.
Bill, I think you were mostly joking about this, about advising young potential coaches not to do it. But
wasn't joking at all.
So if you weren't joking, I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on why, but also tied in with that, what do you think has been the most important thing about your own duration in this business and ability to keep thriving? Not just about winning, but I mean about your own mindset.
Well, I'd probably answer it all in one statement. it has changed. I mean, college athletics, football in particular, has changed dramatically over the years. You've all been in it, you see it, and you know exactly what I'm going to say. I think we've sold out. We're all about dollars and cents. It no longer, the concept of college football no longer has any bearing on the quality of person, the quality of student. Universities are selling themselves out, no longer about education. You talk a good game, but we, flat sold out those cameras over there. And TV has made its way, and I don't fault TV. I don't fault whoever broadcasts games, etc. I mean, they've got to go make a living, and that's what they do. But athletics, football is, as I said, is sold out for. Everybody's building Taj Mahals again. You've heard me talk about that hundreds of times, and I think it sends a message. And young people today, I think, are more susceptible to the downside of that message, which says it isn't about education anymore. We're saying it is, but it's really about the glitz and the glitter, and I think sometimes values get distorted that way. I would hate to think that a young guy would make a decision about where he would get his education based on what a building looks like. If that's, I was raised and always taught that, it's what's in the building that counts, and, you go on campus and maybe on any campus in the country of quality educational systems, and they may have old, structures. We've got structures here that are 100 and some odd years old. That doesn't mean that the people inside it are not going to give you a great education. I applaud our professors. I mean, I've got an office that I can swim in, and and they're in a cubby hole someplace, and yet they go out and teach and promote education every single day, and I value that, a great deal. We're playing. We talk about a young guy getting an education, and now we've expanded, because of television, we've expanded the seasons. I mean, we're talking about a 15, 16-week season, then you add on 4 weeks of preparation, so you're talking about 20 weeks approximately. We're going to have a playoff system now, and it'll expand it more, and then we're going to end up expanding the playoff system, which is going to go even more. And you hear people talk about, football being year-round, but that's a competitive time where, they're really invested in it, and you got schoolwork, that you have to do. Last I heard, anyway, that you do, and you think about it, a young guy has, however many hours he happens to be carrying. And that just goes on and on and on. You take so much time out of his day as it relates to football. And now you're talking about, we started out Saturday afternoon, right? I mean, weren't we accustomed to Saturday afternoon football? I mean, it's the biggest thing in the world. It truly was. And now there isn't any Saturday afternoon football. You play at, 8 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, and goes all the way through until midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. And then now we're playing on Thursdays. Now we're playing on Wednesdays. Now we're playing on Tuesdays. Now we're playing on Mondays. Sundays next, we'll have 7 days a week. They'll be playing college football games. Well, if I'm a student athlete, if I'm going to play, that's going to take 2+ days out of my educational system. Day before, in all likelihood, in most schools, you're probably not going to go to class. You're going to go hibernate in a hotel someplace, and then the next day you're going to be there until game time and play. And those are days you could be going to class and should be going to class. Now you put, 15 of those. We play. We have 5 Saturdays we don't play football this week within our season. Now, tell me, how that stuff happens. I mean, to me, that's not what football is about. Now, that's only my opinion. That doesn't mean that, and I'm not I'm not upset with the people that, promote some of that stuff because they're trying to do their thing. I mean, that's what they do. But, I just think we've lost sight of what college athletics is really all about.
So you've got all this kind of going against your grain and against the grain of a lot of what you've known, and yet, I mean, obviously this has been a very fulfilling thing for you. I just wonder how you've sustained yourself then when you've got those kind of things that are bothering you, and the hectic, hard, long year to put together a football season. What's been your key?
Well, I just stick to my knitting, I guess. I mean, this is what I believe in, so I'm going to share it with you. I'll share it with our players. They know exactly how I feel, about it. And you just, you do the things that you think are right. And I'm in a position, that's why I feel, with young coaches, as they work through, I don't want to see young guys, I don't want to see a Colin Klein or, a Zach Hansen or any guys like that. I don't want to see them get into this and get distorted, about things. I don't want them to, because they've got great values, and I don't want those to get altered by any stretch of the imagination. And hopefully they can do it and they're strong enough. But, since it is such a dollar and cent game, you don't see guys sitting in the same chair for 20 years anymore. Nobody's going to have it. Well, I'm 100 years old, so I can afford it. It doesn't, if I'm gone tomorrow, I'm gone tomorrow, and I got a place to go, But you take, 25-year-old, 35-year-old coach, they don't. And, the streets are beginning to get full of, guys that don't. Anyway,
This wasn't my original question, but I'm just curious, based on what we've just been talking about, is there a solution in your mind, or is it a situation where the toothpaste is too much out of the...
Well, I don't have all the answers. I think, I think the people that can make all those decisions at a much higher level, really need to sit down and think this through. I'm not saying money's not important to an athletic department, et cetera, but there are sources to keep things within reason and still have competitive programs and still do right by student athletes. But it would take a lot of people sitting down and coming to some closure on some thoughts and some ideas and try to reel it all in a little bit.
Back to my original question, this year's schedule is a little bit unique in that you play a conference game in week 2 and then you play a team like Auburn in the first month. What kind of challenges does that present now, or how does that change anything?
Well, anytime you play a game, you got a challenge, and some of them are maybe a little bit more difficult than others. But, probably the biggest challenge, for us is keeping things in perspective and taking it a day at a time and worrying about, our practice tomorrow morning and worrying about our meetings tonight and take things as they come and get invested wholly in that. And, if we're looking forward to Auburn, then we'll get embarrassed somewhere else along the road. We got embarrassed last year, at the outset of the ball game because we took some things for granted. You've heard me say that. And all I can do is caution, everybody that's invested in it not to take, our first opponent for granted or our second opponent or anyone else. So, when it comes to, Iowa State's an improved football team. But we can't get to Iowa State until we've had the opportunity to prepare ourselves, and compete against Stephen F. Austin. And when that's over, then we'll move into the next one.